All right, everybody. Welcome to episode 3 of the OhioOutdoors.com podcast with Jackalope and Jesse. Today we got a guest in the kind of the camper de la Taj Mahal studio there with Jesse. His name is Isaac. You guys know him from the forum as, Isaacorps. How do you pronounce that, Isaac?
Whatever you prefer. It goes back to my skater days with my brother. We created AIM usernames. He was Bendistries and I was Isaacorps. So
stuck with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a little bit of the agenda today, Jesse. I know that you kicked it off earlier with some members, had them out to the farm today to kind of do a little bit of a farm tour to see the layout of the land. Stand placements, habitat management, all of that real good stuff. Regretfully, I couldn't join you guys out there. I'd be in the camper too, but it's a little bit of a drive. So, Isaac, I know, you just purchased some new property too. So, I mean, it's probably great for you to be able to see how that kind of folds in in the Southern Ohio realm. But yeah, I mean, Jesse, if you want to kind of take us through the day there to kind of start at, like you said at the beginning, and we'll roll with it.
Yeah, so we wanted to have an opportunity to share with them what we've been doing here on the farm since 2005. Obviously, Isaac having interest in having just acquired a piece of property. What's it look like to take on habitat management projects? Where are you putting your food plots? Why are you putting them there? The fun part about this walk for me was we got some very obvious topography here. It's a good place to learn about, hunting into the bowls and the hogs backs and talking about thermals. So, Isaac spent some time in the hills. Doug came down and joined us today. He's a little, more towards the northwest where it's flat. So it's good for him to see a perspective. We talked about, projects that went well and are still going well, but also projects that we've done in the past that, really weren't what we wanted them to be. And we finished up actually right here below the camper I used to have a pristine food plot, and you can ask Isaac, when we come up out of the woods there, it's some thick, nasty stuff that took 10 or 12 years to regenerate, but it's the type of deer habitat you want. So sometimes doing nothing turns into some pretty cool deer habitat.
Yeah, and that's kind of the biggest thing. A lot of what we talked about was sometimes doing nothing and doing everything. You can overthink it. You can go kind of, oh, let's make it look like it is on TV. Let's make it look like a golf course essentially of the deer woods, and how that's not necessarily going to help you get you where you want to be. But it was definitely eye-opening. Definitely good to get down here and see what Jesse's doing and where they started, and having him walk us through what they've done and everything to get to where they're at now.
And we got to see some deer.
So. We did see some deer.
Well, hey, I saw my second deer hit on the road down here today in these 6 months that I've lived here. So definitely have some more deer there than we do here. And I thought it was a dog at first. It was actually about the size of a small lab. It wasn't big at all. About a button buck size, really. And that was a full grown deer. Now, not knowing a lot about habitat management myself, never having, went through it and done all of that. I'm only, paper read on it. So I'm going to probably take a lot of a back seat to this conversation because, I don't know my butt from a hole in the ground when it comes to planting stuff. I spent all my time hunting in Ohio. Most of my time hunting in Ohio was up in the glaciated flatness of, Clark Champaign County area. I did get to notice, the habitat diversity in Clark County is largely fence rows with massive expanses of cornfield and bean fields. You go north a little bit up into Champaign County, north of Urbana, that type of area, and even north of there into a little bit south of Bellefontaine, which I know they call it Bell Fountain, but so I got a coastal marsh right across the road here, and it's Bellefontaine Coastal Marsh. And I used to talk with the wife about that all the time. She was like, "It's Bell Fountain." I was like, "They should have spelled it Bell Fountain then." But anyway, so just a little point of contention there, joke. And you get up into there and it's a lot more diverse. I wouldn't say diverse habitat, but it's more of a 50-50 mix of ag versus timber rolling type of thickets and things. And the quality of deer that come out of that area versus the large agricultural fields further south, and I know this is vastly different than where you guys are, was noticeable to me. and one thing I always like to do is stop and say, why are these deer here? What are they doing here? Why are they attracted to this spot? And for me, it came down to balance. That's the only thing that I could really give to that. So I'm sure, down there where you're at, Jesse, and the things that you've done to that property, it's all about balance too, even though you're largely in rolling hills and hardwoods.
Yep. Yeah, no, it's a good mixture on this property. You can get some really big woods areas in this county. We're in Washington County today. It's the 4th largest landmass county in Ohio. We're kind of a microcosm of the state in that the eastern side towards the river is heavy, big woods, more mountainous terrain versus we're sort of on the western side where we're at here. And it's a little more gentle rolling hills. I mean, he'll tell you, we walked up a drainage today to get one of my hills. It's still pretty steep and you got to get your rock climbing boots out, but it's way worse on the east side of the county, but we're a good blend here. The balance is a really good word. Our farm probably lays out we're about half timber and half open fields and what's become, CRP type of ground here. So, and he's, in the central part of the state, it's very similar down there.
Yeah. Yeah. So where I'm at, we bought our place back in July and it's definitely gentler terrain than it is here. I'm not quite as up and down. Where I'm at, it's definitely more rolling, and I'm only on 15 acres, so that's kind of a real small sample size to deal with. But I mean, I'm surrounded by ag on 3 of the 4 sides, and it's kind of flat, but it's real thick. It's got a couple places that cut through it. So the best way to describe it would be it's 15 acres of bedding.
Yep.
So, which was something I knew going into it and something that was maybe a concern, but maybe not, but it presented somewhat of a challenge as far as, okay, I have access, I have everything that the deer would want or need. Now let's figure it out. So it's definitely a challenge, but that's part of the fun of it.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And from your perspective, 15 acres, and we say it a lot of times on the forum, right? When guys talk about, I want to lease a place, I want to buy a place, what should I look for? And we say, hey, it's not about going out there and getting 1,500 acres. You can do it with the right 15 acres, right? That's and there are a lot of really nice deer killed from smaller in general, what people would consider smaller hunting parcels, simply because, if you think about your neighbors with the ag on 3 places, you have food, and that's an open area for them, but you have where they want to end up every day, right? Back in that bedding area, that's where they're going to come out from. So kind of the key piece for you is, okay, how do I get in between that, right? Yeah. It's access and then keeping them feeling safe in there for the most part.
Yeah. I mean, we have acreage here, and he's got his similar. I was having a look at the aerials on his place. His 15 acres are very similar to 11 acres that's behind my house, in that you're in a good area. You definitely got good neighbors. You got good neighborhood in terms of habitat. In my opinion, the county where his farm's at is one of the nicer counties, just all around kind of features of what Ohio has to offer. They got a lot out there to offer from a habitat standpoint. So he's in a great neighborhood. And yeah, it might only, in air quotes, only be 15 acres. But the fact of the matter is, I've done really well on 11. I think he's going to do really well on his 15, just the way that it lays out with the neighborhood and topography. That's half the battle. And you can't manipulate the topography. You can't necessarily manipulate what your neighbors are doing. You can only control what you control. But if it's in a good spot, then you're off to a good start.
Yeah. And Isaac, where was that again? I forget, county-wise, location, geographic.
Jackson County is just south of the city of Jackson.
Okay, so a little bit south of Chillicothe.
Yeah, right, just southeast of Chillicothe.
Gotcha. Okay, I know that, right? Yeah, a lot of timber in that area too.
Yeah, and the particular area where our property is it. You're kind of on the edge of getting into the real thick rolling, timber type stuff. As we mentioned, it's a good mix of ag and timber. Because I was on a lease for a couple years just east of there in Wellston. There was like 1,000 acres of just nothing but timber. And it's not that far from there, totally different.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah,
Okay.
you know, to your point, it's not the size of the property necessarily. It's hopefully the right property. And if
Yeah.
it's, you know, something that's appealing, that makes sense for the deer, you know, from a habitat standpoint, you know, you screwed up, you only got yourself to blame.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And it's really from, I think Jackson County, I never went that far south. I used to be on a lease in Benton County, which is of course northeast of that a little ways. And I think Jackson's kind of right there on that habitat divide.
Yep.
You know, of where if you go west, you start to get into more closer to Cincinnati, where it flattens out and gets down into that big river basin type area. And then if you go east of that, you get into, you know, Vinton County over towards, you know, Jesse. And, you know, it's not far. You can get into central Vinton County and you're in Tar Hollow area. And I don't know if you guys ever stomped around in there, but
Oh yeah,
there's some big hills and hollows in that place. So yeah, right on that habitat edge, if you will, I think is a great place to be. Yeah.
And that's in the neighborhood of all of our favorites, Benton Furnace. We talked affectionately about that today, and just, you know, that's habitat management from the state's perspective, and that's the finest example of habitat management in the state, in my opinion. You know, we spend a lot of time on Strouds, and we've all been down there, and we love the big woods, but you know that place needs cut. Yeah. And if you go to Benton Furnace, that's been cut, they got good edge habitat in there, a lot of good regrowth. It offers a lot more diversity and the type of big woods experience that you'd like to have in terms of it's not monotonous like Strouds can be and some of the other big woods can be, where it's just big open giant timber and that's all there is to it.
Yeah. Yeah. I found we had the muzzleloader hunt one year down there in Benton Furnace, and Travis and I came down an evening ahead of time. And that evening before, he said, "Hey, we're here a couple hours before dark. We might as well go out and do a little bit of hunt. No sense. We're going to sleep in the back of the excursion that night." And so there's no sense in doing all this and just kind of hanging out in the truck. So let's go do a little bit of hunting. And I just pulled up Onyx, right? Hit the public land layer. Let's find something that's close and go walk it, you know. And regretfully, I did not mark it on a map after I did, because that place, and it was somewhere on Benton Furnace, but we got out of the truck and started walking across just a little bitty, it was a hilltop that someone had planted for beans, right? I mean, it probably wasn't any more than a few acres, and there were tracks on top of tracks. I mean, right when we dipped over the hollow down into the woods, deer were exploding everywhere. And we just kind of took a long walk down and around through this area. And really we weren't hunting because I didn't want to drag a deer out of there and deal with it that night, knowing we had everything going on in the morning, but we weren't sitting in the truck. And to this day, I can't remember where that exact spot was, but it was probably the best piece of public land spot that I've ever seen. Turkey tracks all over the field, you know, it just beautiful down in there. And one of the difference was, like you mentioned, Jesse, Benton Furnace, it had been timbered. You know, you come down off the side of a hill and I could stand on a stump, you know, a big stump that had been cut out, and it was thick in there. And the deer were in there like crazy. So, you know, thickness in those places really kind of key to habitat management.
Yeah. We, one of the things that I was able to point out, you know, this is the time of year where trails really shine. It's really obvious where everything's at. And we saw a lot of like sideland travel today, and you can see where a deer could slip through below you. You know, we have an obvious shelf where there is a well-beaten trail, and you are going to see deer on that. But if you just kind of roll off that edge like that, they're going silent around through there. Yeah, there's some trails in there that don't necessarily make sense. But when you get down in a deer's height and you look around, you realize, man, just that difference in being 6 foot tall versus being, 40 inches tall, they feel so much safer coming off the crests of those hills like that. It was really cool to see a lot of that travel show up today because it was pretty obvious out there.
Yeah, and the neat thing was too, Jesse pointing out where he has had stands in the past that did or didn't work, and just all the history of past hunts and stuff, saying, I was sitting up here and this deer came down this way and I never had a shot opportunity. Well, then to be able to go down and stand and look where that deer was and say, okay, well, your stand was up here, and you go, well, shoot, that makes perfect sense. Yeah. I mean, just like a slight 5 foot change in elevation.
Yep.
I mean, there's, they're not they don't live by being stupid, you know.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
This is their element, and things that we think we know or think we have figured out. I mean, just slight subtle things like that. I mean, it's really cool to see, and to be able to walk through with somebody who has, you know, a good history with a piece of property, and can say, well, I tried this, it did or didn't work, this is what I observed, this is what they're doing. And then to be able to put yourself in that position to go, okay, well, that's why they did what they did.
Yep.
It's,
Yeah.
it's really good to be able to, you know, draw from that past experience and that, you know, that wealth of knowledge, as far as, you know, basically just all based on observation.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's critical. And a lot of times we talk about deer, and you read it on the forum, and you know, everybody's talking. We sometimes like to discuss them like it's an absolute, right? We say,
Yeah.
oh, they
Mhm.
like to travel the path of least
Yeah.
resistance, or deer like to do this or like to do that. And we put this giant generalization around them, when in reality, it's probably a pretty solid more often than not, but it may only be a 70%, right? Because I know you guys have sat in a stand before and had a monster of a hill behind you and said, all right, the deer are going to come from here and here. And then all of a sudden you look behind you. So where the
Yeah.
heck did you come from?
Yeah.
I know you
Right.
didn't come off this giant,
Yeah.
you know, shale face of junk, and I didn't even hear you. You came down through all that stuff, and they'll do it, you know. And I think that your larger bucks, when they get smarter and they get older, it's not
Mhm.
all about, hey, I'm going to take this path of least resistance, right? Because they're not lazy animals. They're concerned about safety. And yeah,
Sure.
they'll go through some junk. They'll side hill some stuff on you. And I know you guys have also heard the kind of the thing of the big deer trails, right? And so the big bucks don't really use them.
Yeah.
You know, maybe during the rut they do if they're kind of running down them, but 9 times out of 10, they really like those smaller trails off to the side, the downwind, thicker place where they can kind of get out of there has been my observation. So it is good, like you mentioned, to be able to see all of those different things and have that experience, I think, because you know, deer, they're not an absolute, and everyone is different. They all have different personalities. By and large, they kind of all do the same thing, but you know, they can throw you for a loop too, depending on that personality.
Yeah. He's had pretty good camera pull after how you got it right before season or October timeframe?
End of July.
Yeah,
Yep.
end of
Yeah.
July.
So
So
yeah.
he's got, you know, coming up on his first full year of
Mhm.
developing history, and it's pretty good camera pool out there. Prospects look
Yeah, I
good.
mean, so what I found, excuse me, is it holds a lot of does, which, I mean, you know, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And a crazy thing I noticed is probably right around muzzleloader season, I mean, I just had bucks come out of the woodwork. I mean, just absolutely come out of the woodwork and hit the corn pile as soon as the weather turned cold.
Yep.
And you know, I've got this camera on corn, you know, for inventory basically, and I'm like, what? Okay, what is this telling me?
Yep.
You know, and so to take a step back and say, okay, obviously they're around here. Why are they now here at this point in time?
Yeah.
How are they getting here? What is it that's drawing them? Obviously, in this case, it was cold and there was corn,
Good
but
old golden acorns.
right. But yeah, it's the whole, you know, jigsaw puzzle aspect of it is really what's intriguing, and I think keeps us all coming back to it. But yeah, it it's definitely I'm not the most patient person in the world.
Same here.
I like results, but I also enjoy the process. So, you know, balancing those two things and trying to figure it all out and piece it all together. That's definitely part of I think what keeps me involved for sure.
It's a lot of the
Yeah.
fun. When
Yeah.
he was sending me pictures, it reminds me of the acreage behind my house. Is I would probably be better off to stay out of those woods
Mhm.
until late season. And yeah, the power of corn works, but there's something about that particular area. And again, they look very similar on the overheads that if you just don't pressure them on that small piece of ground, there's that 6-week window at the end of the season where, you know, if you want to put the corn to them, they're going to be in the neighborhood. They, for whatever reason, they've sort of come back around. I see decent deer in the summers there, but then it's kind of lonely from August to January, and then all of a sudden in January now, hey, excitement's on.
Yeah, and it's crazy because so we closed on the property in July, right? I'm like, oh, sweet, throw some cameras out, gonna get some sweet pictures of velvet. I wasn't seeing it. And I'm like, what did I do? I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
does and fawns. I'm like, oh my gosh,
Bought a
and
gar hole.
so had a couple, decent velvet picks. And I'm like, all right, well, wait it out, whatever. Mid to late October, I took a couple other guys here when we were down at Stroud's. We went and hunted Saturday morning out there, and does and fawns.
Yep.
And right after that, I'd say probably a week after that, I started, I don't run cell cams, so I go down, on the weekends, every other week or whatever, pull cam cards. And probably a week after I took those guys, I mean, it was just like new buck. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, so what's this telling me?
Yep.
Again, what is this telling me? It's telling me that the does are staying here.
Yep.
The neighborhood bucks know they're staying here. They're coming
Mhm.
through. Now, what do I do with it?
Yep.
Yep.
You got a couple of good transition areas, I think, that you're going to be able to capitalize on there too. So, yeah, having the ladies hang around it's interesting. We've been talking. It's come up on the forum a couple times in the
Mhm.
last couple months about Jeff Sturgis with Whitetail Habitat Solutions will say you can have a buck farm or you can have a doe farm, but you can't necessarily have like great of both because there's going to be competition there, more mouths at the table if you're keeping
Right.
all the doe herd. But you also, for most of us, we don't have the ability to totally manipulate our habitat and our area. We can do little things, but
Sure.
if you're just your natural strength of your property is going to be does, then how do you just leverage that strength as opposed to somehow try to turn it into a buck sanctuary when that's not really what it's going to be?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I tell you, I'd rather have that problem where they're not there in the summer or in the early fall than the opposite way. I hunted a farm in Champaign County area that all summer, right? I'd from first little growth all the way through the deer peel, beautiful camera pictures, big bucks in and out, regulars every day at the salt block. But, they would peel velvet, and then a couple weeks later, they disappear for about 2 weeks. And then they would come back around, but they would only stay for a little bit. And usually within the first week or two of season, they were gone, like disappeared, wouldn't see them again on camera all year. And they spent their summer habitat there. That's where they like to be to grow velvet and the nutrition and everything else that was there for them. And my theory was always that 2 weeks they would strike out and go see where the does were. They would go visit those properties, do a loop and say, okay, they're here. And then they would come back for a little bit, rest up, but then when it started to get time to, get after them and find those does and get over there and kind of claim a territory, buddy, they were gone. And they weren't on this property anymore. So I'd much rather have that problem where, they're safe somewhere all summer, somewhere they feel safe. And then come season, into mid-October, early November, they show up where I'm hunting. That's way better, And those deer sometimes, occasionally, one or two would loop back through every once in a while. So it was almost like you could see them on a pattern. They would disappear, and then maybe 3 weeks later, you'd get him on camera for a day or two, and then he was gone for another 3 weeks, and you just wondered the giant loop. And at that time, a friend and I would drove around a lot. And in that area, you could see a deer 2 miles away, 2.5 miles away, and know that's where that deer came from. Matter of fact, the biggest one that I ever shot, when I shot him, on a buddy's property at the time, I was telling him about him, and he was like, I've never seen that deer before. I don't know where he came from. Well, when we ended up finding the deer that next morning, he knew exactly what that deer was, and it came from 6.5 miles away where he had camera.
Wow.
Yeah.
6.5 miles to the south is where that deer spent all summer, and he just was heading north, going that direction.
Yeah.
So I'd rather have that problem where they show up later in the season, because then you can kind of get a game plan together. But
Yeah.
do you think that the corn that you put there might have been the only reason they were there, or is it more of that's where they like to yard up because it's secure and maybe some waste grain out there or something like that? Or
that's a good question. Yeah, wow, that's never been posed to me. I never actually thought about that. I because the timing of it was somewhat ironic because we had some pretty good heavy snow back in late January, early February, and that's when they showed up. And I don't run cell cams, so I I don't have like a minute to minute update of what's going on, but I'm thinking it was probably just because of the corn. Because I know, like, I mean, it is a doe like stronghold. I mean, that is their home.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking it was probably because of the corn.
Well,
There's a
we've
lot of
got
pines in that general part of the state. Do you guys have any pines in that neighborhood down there?
Not around me, not very much, because my spot it was timbered. I don't know how long ago, but it's definitely been timbered. So it's a lot of new growth, so it's thick, and that's why it does hold the does like it does. But yeah, so that not there is a lot of like old mead land and stuff in that part of the state that got replanted in pines, but not real close to me.
Need to draw that 6.5 mile radius and see what you can get drawn in there.
Get them on that loop.
Exactly. Yeah. Next January, I bet you're going to be driving around those roads going, I wonder if there's any deer over here. Are they all
Well,
on
and
me,
it's
right?
funny, you were saying about getting pictures of them in velvet in the summer and then being gone, and because from talking to people around there, a guy told me, yeah, my buddy, he's got a place. His place is like a half mile as the crow flies from me, and he's like, oh, he's got, he holds bucks. I mean, he's got 10, 20 different bucks, and he gets pictures of them in velvet and everything, and this and that and this. And I'm like, has he killed them? And he's like, well, no, they just hang out in the summer and then they're gone. I'm like,
And they're gone.
well, okay.
Yeah. It disgusted me. I mean, I got to the point where I didn't even really want to run cams anymore after 2 or 3 years, because I'm like, I'm never going to see this deer again. So there's no sense in it at all. And yeah, so
wasn't all just deer today. We did do some turkey talk. We saw some scratching and dragging, and this morning I was a little late rising. We were up a little late last night, so it was a late rising, and
can't imagine why.
Yeah, so
Weird.
yeah, weird, right?
Weird.
So then when I went out this morning, Dave said that he watched 7 gobblers walk across the backfield here, and they were all still lined up, dragging across through there. So it's a little different for turkeys on 15 acres. Makes it a little tougher to run and gun, but that's still a great part of the state for turkeys.
And it's a great part of the state for public land too. I don't really suffer from the illusion that I'm gonna do a lot of turkey hunting on that 15 acres. Maybe if I can make friends with the neighbor behind me who's got like 100, and that's tends to be where they come from and where I've heard them and seen them. But yeah, it's definitely getting to be turkey time, and man, that'll get you excited. That'll get me excited.
Yeah,
turkey time down in your neighborhood, isn't it, Joe?
Next weekend.
Nice.
Next weekend. So yeah, mid-March, third week in March there is typically when it opens up. So yep, actually not weekend, Monday, because ours comes in on a Monday too. So yeah, I'm probably not going to hunt that Monday. So it'll be the next weekend. So 2 weeks for me till I can get in the turkey woods. Then I'm going to fly up and actually land in Ohio, meet Alex, so we can do a little hunting in Kentucky. Because just beautiful turkey ground there. But then I got to get back here and try to get out into the woods and figure out Mississippi turkey hunting, Prospects look good. I know it's an Ohio podcast, but we always hear of turkeys in Alabama, Mississippi area, and they actually did a hunter survey, much like the ODNR does, on how many turkeys did you see, how many did gobble. They pick out guys and they go through and do the maps, and it's broken into 5 zones here in the state, because down here in the coastal area, it's a lot different than north, right? When you get up towards Tennessee. And I was reading the graphs and I about fell out of my chair because, it was broken down into 10-hour blocks. So for 10 hours of turkey hunting, how many toms did you see? And the answer was 8. And how many gobbles did you hear? Over 100. And I'm like, what? Okay, let's have some fun in the turkey woods, right? That's way better than sitting out there not hearing anything like I've done in years past. But I always like hunting turkeys in Ohio because they're just not as pressured, in my opinion, as states like this, where they're just beat to death, and you can find that groove. You can find a good spot of workable birds that aren't over pressured, that aren't over called to, And it's just fun, some good turkey hunting in Ohio if you can find it. Southern Ohio being better than where we were in Central Ohio. So
yeah, no, it's kind of new to me because for a while, very much like we talked about in the first podcast and talked about with Jim, that self-taught hunter. Well, turkey hunting didn't come with that either, so kind of had to sort that out. And there were some really poor failed attempts when I was in college back in the day, trying to run around public land down around Athens. And then I coached baseball for a while, and there's no turkey hunting when you're coaching baseball. It just doesn't work out very good. So I still feel like a rookie in a lot of ways. Told the story with Jim about getting pinned down in the bottom by the two turkeys working on the ridge, and we was able to stand down there and look at it today. And it's, once you stand there and look at it, it's like, if they're there, you're done. You're pinned.
There's absolutely nothing that could have been done in that situation. But I've killed exactly 2 turkeys in my lifetime. But man, is it fun. I've told you all before, and I'll say it again. I like to deer hunt. I love to turkey hunt. I mean, for me, it's the most fun you can have in the woods.
Yep.
The best time of year. All of that. I got hooked on turkey hunting. You'd have to go back and look. Whenever NWTF had their annual convention, it was in Columbus. It had to be probably 15 years ago at least. And I went to it and I was like, all right, I'll give this a shot. I bought a box of 12 gauge, 2 3/4 inch, number 4 shot shells. I still have that box of shells. There's 2 missing.
Yeah. Nice.
The 2 turkeys that I've killed.
Nice.
I still have that box of shells.
Awesome.
First one was, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago down in Hawkins State Forest.
Oh, nice.
I went in, I heard these birds gobbling. I'm like, all right, well, of course I walk right in on somebody who's already working them. I'm like, well, my bad, it's public. What are you going to do?
Yep.
So I reroute, I set up somewhere else, and I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I'm hammering the call, and they're gobbling back. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. This is just like TV, Well, so I call in a group of 3 jakes that are, just wound up tighter than they can be, and here they come, I'm like, well, if I shoot now, if I shoot now, I could probably take out all 3 of them. How do I play this? Again, I don't know anything about turkey hunting. So I'm like, well, are they going to separate themselves? Or is one going to go this way? Is one going to go that way? So I'm just sitting there. And finally, one of them separated off, and, I was able to shoot him, and that was it. It was like, okay, this is a good time. This is fun. I mean,
Jakes are fun too, because you can get them riled up. But I'll admit to the worst miss of my entire life on this podcast right now was with a set of Jakes. When we came out of the holler down there, I had called some birds in through there, and they were only gobbling sporadic. And the way they were down in the bottom like that, it was kind of echoing around. I really wasn't sure what was going on, other than there's some fired up birds up that holler, and I was right around, it kind of makes an L shape, and I was on the nose of that point, and I might have been just as worked up as they were worked up. But all of us were having a good time that morning. And when they come parading around the corner like that, there was 6 of them in a straight line, all of them Jakes, and it's one of those deals where I just never got to my gun. I was always up here peeking over the end of it. And I called those Jakes to my bootlaces and missed all 3 shots. No excuse. The first shot, chaos, this bird's flying everywhere. I'm glad that wasn't on video, because whatever I'd have been filming for would have fired me, because it was one of the most embarrassing displays of shotgun shooting you could ever get. But Jakes are fun in that way, because they get fired up, they get you fired up, and
And if you're hunting gobbles, Jakes are
right.
Jakes are as good as it gets.
Oh, absolutely. No, in my opinion, we try to shoot 2, long-beard birds, but I'll con you into shooting a Jake in a heartbeat. I don't care. You can ask Alex, a guy I turkey hunt with all the time. We'll turkey hunt, and you'll hear a gobble. It sounds like a good bird. It sounds like he's got a full chuckle. It doesn't cut off. It's not a Jake, and he'll be sitting there, and next thing you know, this Jake will come waddling in, and he'll tell you. I'll look at him and go, shoot, and I'll keep on him. And it's worked a couple of times. Yeah. But
I mean, by the time you
turkey-
breast them, by the time you breast them out and you dredge them and fry them up a little bit, who cares, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why they give you 2 tags. You get one,
Right.
you get an eater, and then you get one to put in the taxidermist.
Yeah, that goes back to the conversation about we talk about Ohio getting 2 buck tags, right? Same deal. Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The argument against is always somebody will shoot a little one first,
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah.
So
have
yeah,
that.
you turkey hunt long enough, you'll miss some that make you sick,
Mhm.
and 2 years ago, Alex and I were out turkey hunting. I missed probably the biggest turkey I've seen standing in the woods. And he likes to say I didn't miss, I shot a tree. Yeah, we had went out a couple of times to hunt this bird, and we knew where he was roosting. There's a plowed field and then probably 30 yards of woods, and then right over that he kind of dipped off the hill, right? So typical terrain topology, and that bird was roosted kind of over that hill, and around to our right it kind of went down into a dip. So we were on a little bit of a peninsula, and we had been out there a few mornings in a row trying to get this bird, and we knew he was big. You can just tell when a big tom is standing there that he's a full grown bird, and the bird pitched out. He pitched straight down. We were up on top calling to him, while he was still in the tree, trying to get him fired up. Know he could see the decoys, and he pitched straight down and hit the ground. And he walked around the end of that knob, and he just kind of hung up right over the edge where I couldn't see him. And I think one of the reasons Alex and I do so well turkey hunting together is we're opposite ends of the spectrum. He's more patient and laid back. I'm more of a crapper, get off the pot, we got to go. I'm a hard running gun, and he kind of, I don't know, so it balances out. And I got tired of listening to this bird right over the hill, because he was right there at probably 45 yards flat ground. He's in gun range, and so I'm sitting there, and 20 minutes go by. This bird is not moving. He's just hung up. So I said, well, you know what? If I stay low, I can't see him sitting down. I know he's over that edge. I'm going to crawl up there. I'm going to, take my time, scratch around, sound like a turkey. Now, if he comes popping up, I'm screwed, right? Because I'm crawling. And I'm going to get up there closer to this edge and then peek over and see where I could see him. And that's what I did. I kind of got up there closer and closer, and I would peek, and I could see the top of his tail spinning, like this, just the top of it. So I knew I'd get back down and crawl a little bit closer and then look again. And he was right by a big tree, not the tree I shot. And, and he was just doing his figure eights down there, and I could see his head. So when he turned around and I knew he was facing the other way and that fan was blocking him, I went ahead and got up on my knees and got my gun up. And I was waiting on him to turn around. But between me and him, there was a tree about as big as a red wiffle ball bat that had fallen down. And it was about 1.5 feet off the ground. And it was right in my way. I mean, absolute in my way. So I'm only on my knees. And so I kind of kneel down and say, should I shoot him under? Or, I try to get up high or try to shoot him over. And so this tree was maybe 15 yards from me, and I'm shooting a pretty tight patterned gun, and I said, you know what, the best shot for this bird is actually under that tree. So I'm going to pull this off. And I kind of got down low and waited for him to spun. And buddy, I shot. He went off flying, couldn't for the life of me figure this out. Walked over and looked at that tree, and about the bottom 2 inches of it was just tore off. That shot pattern was maybe, bigger, about a racquetball size, going through there. And that pattern just happened to catch that tree. And of course it shot all down into the dirt, there. And I watched that big monster fly off, and we never saw him again. We didn't go back out there and hunt anymore. I was just kind of disgusted with it. And he ragged the crap out of me about that for a while. You missed. I didn't miss. I shot a tree. There's a difference.
The tree jumped in the way.
Yeah, he got saved. That's what it is. So
it always feels like there's a lot less pressure for me, anyways. There's a lot less pressure with turkeys. It's definitely more an enjoyable pursuit for me, but the misses still hurt, it's just,
they do.
And there's something about them coming in, and for me, that's timeless, right? Put your cheek down, look through the sight. I was taught that when I was 8 years old, and I'm still messing it up. So
yeah, it's easy to do. And he actually did that the very next year. He had a whole year to rag me about that bird, And then in Clark County, we were hunting another bird, and it was a big tom. We've probably killed 20 so birds a piece. And this was the biggest one he and I had seen hunting together, even bigger than the one the year before. I mean, just real thick rope on this bird and beautiful. And he was giving us a fit. He was roosting by this field, and some days he would hit the ground and he would go right out there into the middle of it. And I said, well, he's got to come back at some point. So let's play the whole hide behind the bushes game and run left and right to try to get him. Well, that never worked. And so we spent probably a good week and a half trying to kill this bird. And then, one morning I said, all right, we're going to split this. We're going to kill this bird this morning. So he was going to sit in the edge of the field. And I actually walked about 75 yards out in this cut cornfield and laid down like I was in a coffin blind, so I'm laid there with my gun across my chest, hoping the corn stubble was high enough. Yeah. And I'm looking and I'm like, if this thing gets within 40 yards, I'm just going to pop up like a Jack in the Box and smoke it. That was the plan anyways. And I see that bird come out of the woods and it hits the field. And for some reason this morning, unlike all the other mornings, he hears Alex calling, and that bird turns around on a beeline and just starts going right towards him. And I'm kind of looking over my boots down my chest like this, and I'm watching that bird walk the edge of this field, just walking right to him, not hanging up, not a care in the world. And, I'm starting to get that feeling like, buddy, we're going to Bob Evans this morning, get me a sauce. I'm planning out breakfast already because after we kill birds, that's what we do. We always went to Bob Evans. And, so this bird's working down the edge of the woods and I'm sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting. And then I hear the gun go off and I see the bird fly and I hear the gun go off again and again, there went all 3 shots. And so I said, well, heck, he's probably already peppered this bird. So I'll put one after it too. I'm like 70 yards away, but I'm going to sling a Hail Mary that direction away from him, but as he's flying by, of course that didn't work, but anyways, and then I hear just the god awfulest racket coming, and I look across the field, and there's Alex, and he's done kicked the strutter decoy, and it's flying up in the air. Took his shotgun, slung it across the field. It's empty. He's over there just tearing it up. I'm sitting in the field laughing my butt off. And he was kicking this decoy around for probably a good 3 minutes, cussing, kicking it and everything else. And I went over there and I told him, I was like, at least I hit a tree.
Yeah, right.
It was a wide open field. Yeah. I mean, and it was exactly what you said, Jesse. Just that moment got to him. He said, I don't know if I didn't have my cheek on the gun or what didn't happen. I said, well, how far was he? He was like right at 40 yards. I'm like, if you'd have waited 30 more seconds, he'd have been in your lap, right. But that bird was coming in, waddling like this. And he said, close enough is good enough, and let her rip. But so even guys that have shot a bunch of turkeys get all jacked up sometimes and string a shot out there at one that they probably shouldn't have. And that's the beauty of it, And the other beauty is your buddy gets to see you do it. So
that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we are running up on time. I wanted to ask you sort of as we go out, obviously you'll have some time to digest what you saw here today, but anything that, seeing other ground and having other conversations that sparked a thought in your mind about, what you want to do or what you might change about what you're doing on your 15 acres?
First order of business, I think, would be get you down there, take a look at it. No, but just really the biggest thing today was it was extremely helpful to be able to walk through, like I said earlier, with the history that you have and say, this worked, this didn't work. This is what it looked like when we got here. This is what it looks like now. Do this, don't do that. Doing nothing is doing something. Yep. Because believe it or not, just having the property since July, I was down there a couple of weeks ago, and that was really the first time I walked it front to back, side to side after the leaves had been off, because as luck would have it, I didn't actually end up hunting there a lot this year because I killed my buck down at my buddy's place. And it really opened my eyes to, okay, this is how it lays out. Yep. This is what it looks like. Here's some things I can manipulate, right or wrong, worth looking into. But the biggest thing I think that I took away from today is just because it is this way when you arrive or when it comes into your possession, doesn't mean that's the way it has to stay.
Yep.
It's a clay that you can mold. You can,
Yep.
you know, try things, throw stuff against the wall, see what sticks, see what works, see what doesn't. And to be able to have, you know, something like 2, where there's a lot of guys that are into land management and stuff like that, to really have that resource to draw on, and more than anything, guys are willing to share.
Yep.
You know, so biggest thing is, if you got questions, ask.
Yeah,
You know,
that's perfect.
yeah.
So a good segue to telling people, if you're not joining us right now on the forum, you can find us at theohioutdoors.com. We're on Facebook and Instagram. To Isaac's point, guys are good about sharing. If you got questions, somebody's got an answer for you, and it's going to be a good one that you can take to the bank. So it was nice to be able to provide that in person, boots on the ground. We kind of affectionately called this our cabin fever event. Get out, break the camper out, try the mobile podcast studio and see how it turns out, and put some boot leather out there.
And to kind of loop that into specifics, Jesse, I know, Isaac, you're just starting out. You got to see some of those things that worked and didn't work. Jesse, you know, I know you've been doing this for a long time, but specifics, like what's one thing that didn't work for you? And then what is something that looks really promising?
The one thing that didn't work was I tried to hinge cut myself with probably not doing enough homework. So I have a couple of failed attempts where and at that time that was still, I don't want to say a new concept, right? But it wasn't the buzzword that it is today. The plethora of YouTube videos that are out there today on hinge cutting weren't available. And so I effectively heard of this tactic and just went to try to duplicate that, and I did it improperly. And so really I just chopped down some trees for no real good reason, right?
Right.
But I think that the thing that the doing nothing is something thing I will come back to many times, because it's definite that this is 80 acres. This is an 80-acre farm. It's going to stay that way by and large, right? That's what we're working with. But if you take sort of this gross habitat concept of just total available cover and browse and food, if you look at that equation in 2005 versus where we're at in 2021, it's remarkably different, right? We have grown that gross total habitat in a lot of ways, and mostly by just doing nothing. And so now we're to the point where the nothing needs to actually be managed a little bit, because we're getting some taller regrowth. Those trees in some of that, what I would call CRP area, are starting to cast shadows, and that's drowning out some of the growth around them. So now we can create some brush piles. We have really transitioned from a buck heavy sort of holding pattern to a doe heavy holding pattern. But the most promising part about that, to your point, you know, what's the promising aspect? I have kids, I got buddies with kids. And so this has become a target rich environment in terms of just the, you know, brown is down, right? And if you're going to bring a kid out, by and large, that's the way we're going to treat it. And so the most promising thing to me is we've really created a haven for holding deer, and that's just going to create opportunity for the use. And occasionally I'm going to kill a decent buck out here, and but I have other places to hunt, and my time, you know, I've had my time, so it's time for me to pay that forward, and the habitat is going to do all the hard work for me right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the plethora of does, right? About 1 month out of the year, and then a little bit later, that's the best bait that nature can make, right? At the end of the day. So
it is.
Good.
Well, man, I appreciate you being on the podcast.
Appreciate you having me out.
Guest number 2.
All right.
Joe, I'm glad you could join us from the sunset shiny south. I can't wait to hear turkey hunting stories in the next couple of weeks.
We'll see how it goes. Brand new area, new stuff around here, but I'm sure it's totally different. But just wonderful to talk to you guys. Wish you could have been there yesterday, today. I don't know how much walking I would have done knowing you're a guest in camp, but I'll see you guys soon. I think in May we have kind of the family get together there for fishing and stuff down at Paint Creek. You know, so that'll be good too. I plan to make that. So.
Yeah, man. All right. Yeah. If you guys haven't joined us yet, theohioutdoors.com, The Ohio Outdoors on Instagram and Facebook. And please share this podcast, get some more subscribers on here. We'd appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you all.
Everyone. All right.